It's time to get my teaching on, which of course means you're all basically in detention right now. Well, hello there everybody, I'm Photo Dave, that's my boring background, this is Toypixx, and in today's video, I'm taking it back to Photoshop basics, the kind of stuff that I take for granted simply because I've been using Photoshop for just so gosh darn long. The kind of stuff that will drive you mad, sending you into fits of rage and throwing things, sending the cat into the corner where it does unspeakable things because you can't figure this stuff out. So really, all I'm doing is saving your house. Now, the things that we're going to cover in this video are the following. I took those two pictures so that first we'll talk a little bit about layers, and then we're also going to talk about scaling the image. We're going to talk about cropping the image. I'll probably drop the history window in there in case you make mistakes. You can go back and fix those. And because all that stuff's kind of just boring stuff, I'm also throwing in there some masking, because masking is the kind of thing you use when you make it look like a character is flying or maybe even jumping. That's where a lot of the fun comes in. So remember, that QR code is in the bottom corner for you to scan and get your free action figure photography guide, which also signs you up for the Toypixx newsletter. And stick around to the end of the video where I show you today's Toypixx photo as well as today's Patreon freebie. Now, with all that said, enough of the blah blah. Let me take you to where I'll be taking those two photos. Now, if you couldn't tell from the thumbnail, we're shooting everybody's favorite Master of the Universe today. That's right, kids. We're shooting He-Man because I figure everybody knows who this guy is. He's a $20 figure, so he's not insane on the wallet. Everybody can mess with that. Good times. We've got a panel light there that I'm using a red filter on. And there's also my iPad that has a app on it called Best Nightlight. You can use any color lights with that app, so I do recommend it. With me though, I'm just using straight up white. There's our man, there's He-Man with the copper wire. Yes friends, the copper wire is what we'll be masking out. So this way he looks like he's jumping and all that good stuff. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're taking a shot using wire, make sure that the wire doesn't overlap the figure at all. As far as, like, if it's behind him, it's okay, but you don't want it in front of him, because what you'll end up having to do is recreating some of the figure, and that's no fun. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take one picture with He-Man with the copper wire, and then I'm going to take a second picture with He-Man and the copper wire removed, because that's what's going to make it so that I can do the whole masking thing and show you how to do that. So, I'm going to shoot that now, and then I'll take it to the computer. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I have both of those images open now. In fact, I have them both so opened that I haven't even named them. You can see they're still IMG files at the very top there. Now, the first thing that I'm going to talk about are layers. Now, right here, obviously, we have the image that He-Man is not on. It was the second one that I shot when I removed He-Man and the copper wire. And then in this file, we have He-Man and the copper wire. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command A, which is select all. I believe on a PC it's Control A. And then I'm going to paste that. I hit Command C as well to copy that. And now I'm going to paste that onto this image with Command V. And now we have two layers. If you look in the upper right hand side, you'll see there's a background layer, which is that initial image. And then you'll see that the second layer here is actually labeled Layer 1, but it's the He-Man, the thing that I just posted in from that image. So this top layer you'll always see, and the bottom layer you won't, depending on what you do with everything else. Like if you mess with opacity up here, you can see He-Man's kind of disappearing a little bit there, showing off what's going on in that bottom layer. But the important thing is, whatever's in the top layer will generally take priority over what's in the bottom layer, meaning you'll pretty much see what's in the top layer over the bottom layer until you start messing with the photo a little bit, and that's where masking is going to come in a little later on. So that's sort of your quick thing when it comes to layers. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is cropping. It's not all that difficult. Cropping is easy on this one. I tried messing with GIMP once, which is kind of a file share Photoshop program, and I couldn't figure it out. I've been using Photoshop for all these years. I couldn't figure out how to crop an image. And that's kind of where I got the imagery for the intro to the video. I was getting kind of ticked off because I was thinking, man, cropping! It's cropping! This should be really easy. Anywho, it is easy here, probably just because I know how to do it. You'll hit the little crop icon on the left-hand icon menu, and you'll see that this is now surrounded by all these lines and brackets and what have you. You'll also see in the bottom left-hand corner that I've got a little bit of the stand that's in the shot from the light that I use, the red light. So the way you crop is you just go over any part of this. You don't even need to grab the little bracket thing here. You can grab the dotted line and just drag it over this way. And now, once you hit enter, there you go. That thing is totally gone. And I could keep cropping, so I'm going to try just one more little crop. I want to bring this in a little tighter on He-Man, just a little bit. Alright, and maybe drop this a bit, but all this is just dragging the line, and then when you've got it where you want it, you simply hit enter. So there you go, folks. That was cropping. Not bad. I'm okay with cropping. Cropping was easy to teach. Right, now the next thing I'm going to show is just sizing. Sizing isn't that big a thing, it's not that big a worry. The one way that I do it is I'll hit Option, Command, and I, and that shows us what the size of the image is right now. So what I can do is, let's just say I want to make it 2000 wide instead of 3017. You'll notice the number below it changed as well, so it will size proportionally, and that's because I have this little lock set over here. You'll see, if we don't do that, let's hit cancel. Okay, and now I'm gonna hit Command, Alt, and I again, and let's take that off, and now if I change the width to 2000, you can see we're going to get a distorted picture here. I'll hit this real quick. Yeah, that's going to be a little messed up. Kind of a cool effect, really. But to get out of this, what I just screwed up, I'm going to hit Command Z. That's basically your undo button. And now we're back to where I just kind of did that. So that's not too bad when it comes to sizing. You can also grab the top filled in arrow on the left hand side of the icon menu, or the left hand side icon menu, and then hit Command T, and you can see that these just showed up around He-Man as well. So if I want to shrink it in proportion, and we're just talking this main image, this layer, make sure that when you're messing with specific layers, you know which layer you're on. There's been times when I made a lot of adjustments to a layer and thought I was somewhere else, and it took me forever to figure out how to go back to try and adjust what I needed to fix. So we're on the He-Man layer with layer 1, and now if I want to save the proportions, I'll grab a corner, hit Shift, and then click the mouse and do this. And you'll see kind of the counter on the side there. Right now it says W2009 and height 1528, all that. So that's just kind of one other way you can size the image. It's not too crazy, it's not too tough, but it's the kind of thing that would drive you mad if you couldn't figure it out. So in order to stop that, I'm just going to hit Command Z again, so we're out of there. And now you can also, just to do this, just to show you kind of the same deal with the broken chain that I just showed you in the hotkey method, where I use the Alt-Command-I. Instead, what you can do is click that arrow again, hit Command-T again, and you can just squeeze them in just like that. Now, generally, I like to keep my images proportional, but depending on the effect you're going for, this might be something you want to do. So that's pretty much how you size your stuff. Alright, the next thing I want to show you just before we get into the fun stuff is the History tab. So, I'm going to scroll up, go up to Window, drag the mouse down to History, and click it. Now, what the History tab would allow us to do if, say, we screwed up somewhere way back here, is go all the way back to that point where we screwed up. Now, you can see there, in fact, that spot I clicked into is just after I pasted He-Man in there, and then we add that, and then there's the crop. So it's kind of just showing you a history of all the things you've done, but at the same time, it can take you all the way back to the very beginning in case you really blew it somewhere. Now, hopefully, you don't blow it that bad, but it is an option if maybe you just blew it a couple steps back. The nice thing about history is you can go all the way back to wherever you think you blew it, whereas Command-Z, or Control-Z, I believe, if you're on a PC, only allows you to go back one step. So I figured that history was one of those important windows for you to check out. And now, we're going to get on to the fun stuff. Alright, now we're getting to the fun stuff. What I'm going to do in this step is mask out this copper wire so it looks like He-Man is jumping through a whole lot of really dark red space, it looks like. Now, the first thing that we want to check is look at this menu that I have, at least on the left-hand side. And the reason I keep saying that, you can customize your menus. So that's where I've got this. Look towards the bottom and you'll see a black square and a white square. Obviously, the black square that's in front, that's going to be your foreground color. The white square that's in back is your background color. And you want them set to black as your foreground, white as your background, because when you're masking, black is basically the thing that allows you to do the masking, and white removes the masking. So in order to get black and white, in case you're not sure, just double click, click once. You don't even need to double click. This is how good Photoshop is. And you just drag along in any color using your mouse, trackpad, whatever it is. Drag it to the bottom left-hand corner. We've got black. And black in hexadecimal numbers, there's 6 zeros. So if it's easier for you to just type in 6 zeros, that's black. So you'd be good there. And for white, obviously that's in the upper left-hand side. And the hexadecimal number there is straight up Fs. So it's 6 Fs. Pretty easy there as well. Now, it's time to get cracking. So let's zoom in just a little bit. We don't need to get too close just yet. And I'm going to add a mask to layer 1, which is the layer that He-Man himself is in. And remember, like I said earlier, make sure you know which layer you're working on. It'll be the one that's highlighted. Now, at the bottom of the layers window here, you can see a little mask icon. The mask icon is the one that's kind of got a lighter rectangle with a darker circle in the middle of it. Click that, and you can see that this little white mask, basically, symbol showed up here next to He-Man. Now, you've got that going. Now, I'm trying to go kind of so you can follow along, because I know I sometimes over-explain or I just skip things. So go over to that left-hand menu. Again, that's where I've got it. Click this brush, and the brush icon is easy. It looks like a paintbrush. And now you can see I've got a circle set up here, but you'll want to click the brush up here. Look in the upper left-hand corner where it says 150. There's a little arrow there. You drop it down. You can set the size however big you want in here, but we'll also be adjusting the size as we go along. And I could pick a hardness so that there's no feathering on the outside of this or not, I choose not. So I'm going to choose this circle. That's the brush. And now we're down here. You can see I already left a little mark. Now, one thing to keep in mind here as I'm doing this, now remember, this is the black that's going over this, but it's not showing up black because the one thing to keep in mind is that we're just exposing what's below this layer. We're kind of hiding what's in this layer so we can see what's below it. We're not getting rid of anything. If you go over to the mask thing here, the little symbol in layer 1, and right click, you hit disable layer mask, you'll see that the wire is still there. So we're not erasing anything, we're just kind of hiding it. Now right click on that again and just hit enable layer mask. And I know I'm kind of jumping all over on this. I get bored just sticking in one area. So all I'm doing is just holding the mouse down and dragging this, so I'm making sure to get rid of that copper cord. It's not crazy. It's not that this stuff is crazy hard. It's the learning curve that can drive you crazy. I know for me, anytime there's some kind of crazy learning curve going on, I go a little nuts because I'm like, I just want to save time and this is making me take time. Okay, now I'm going to want to zoom in for these parts because if I leave this brush this size, I'm going to start to encroach a little on, say, the sword in a couple spots and down on his hip here in this spot. I'll show you here real quick. If I get just a little close and I click, you see how that faded the sword ever so slightly. But I know that, and I was doing that as an example, so now I get out of that by just hitting Command Z like we did earlier. So now what I'm going to do is zoom in by hitting Command plus. And now I want to shrink the size of this, so I hit the left-hand bracket. The one that, would be on the left-hand side of the text. And that shrinks it. If I hit the right-hand bracket, just keep clicking that, obviously it enlarges it. So we're hitting the left so we can shrink it some. And we're going to shrink it quite a bit because I want to make sure that I don't mess with the power sword all that much. I'm even going to shrink it a little more. So you can see I got it ever so slightly, but I'm okay with that. That's pretty negligible. Still, I'm annoyed that I got it ever so slightly, so I'm going to do this here. Ooh, getting close, getting close. That's the problem with choosing the feathered one. But if I were to choose the hard one, the one that didn't have any kind of feather going on, it would create this hard line here, and that wouldn't work because you can see the sword is a little blurry. Just a little out of focus. So I'm going to zoom in a little more and do even more of this. That's right. I was whistling. Okay, so we've got that, and now the last one I really need to hit is down there by his hip. Now here, I can make it a little larger, at least to get some of this. But once I get a little closer to He-Man himself, yep, time to make this thing a little bit smaller. Zoom in again by hitting the Command plus. Whoop! This is the kind of thing that you can start doing and just kind of zone out, which could be good. Maybe you need to just zone out. Maybe masking should just... You know what? Masking is life. When you need to zone out, masking is life. So you just keep dragging here, and boom shakalaka. That's right, boom shakalaka. And I hit Command 0, shows the whole image again, and there we go. He-Man is now jumping through really dark red space. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was masking. And there you have it, ladies and gents, some Photoshop basics you can use in your action figure photography. And if you've made it this far and you're not into plastic crack or various other pop culture playthings, one, what's wrong with you? But two, this will help you out as well. Now, do me a favor, comment below and let me know, was this helpful? Is this something you're going to be able to use when you're doing your own action figure photography? Because if it is, I'm going to keep trying to do this stuff. It's kind of the goal of Toypixx. I want everybody to have some fun, kind of be a little less stressed out by getting to take some pictures and having fun with this stuff. I don't know. I'm going to say fun one more time just because I can. Fun. So yeah, there was that. Now, next up, we're going to be taking a look at today's Toypixx photo. Now today is Wolverine Wednesday, which typically means that the old knucklehead himself would be taking center stage in today's photo, but I kind of felt like giving him the week off. He's still in the image, but I really dig the Marvel Legends Black Widow figure. It had been a while since I took a picture of her, so I wanted to put her center stage. Here she is, just doing her classic interrogation with Tony and Logan just kind of chilling in the background because, well, frankly, Natalia Romanova has got this. Yes, friends, Natasha Romanoff. It's comic accurate, but the Russian name, Natalia Romanova, yep, this guy. Nerd. Anywho, the QR code is there so you can scan it and head over to the X/Twitter and comment with your own Wolverine Wednesday photo. But here's the catch for this one. I want Wolverine in the picture, but I want another character taking center stage. So hop to that, and hopefully I'll see you in those Twitter comments. And now it's time for today's Patreon freebie. For today's Patreon freebie, which, as anyone who's been watching these videos for a while knows, is kind of redundant, because I put everything on Patreon for free. So seriously, if you haven't become a patron yet, go over there, join a tier. There's even a free one. Become a patron. You want this photo stuff, but today's is this bar wallpaper that is free for digital download over on the Toypixx Patreon page. What I was thinking when I was setting this up, honestly, was just Chuckles hanging out in a CIA environment, just doing a CIA thing, being all spy-y, and hanging out in a Thailand bar. I don't know, it was fun. And it was just me thinking, what would Chuckles do? And then somebody else commented with Ricondo, and man, LBZ, I think you're right. Ricondo and Chuckles. That's a pair, that's a buddy comedy waiting to happen. In fact, if you guys think Ricondo and Chuckles would be a brilliant buddy comedy, let me know that in the comments. Anywho, the QR code is here, so you can download that bar wallpaper and use it for your own action figure photography. All you have to do, throw that on your desktop or laptop, stand some figures up in front of it, light them up, put whatever else in the shot, and get to snapping. So, that is today's Patreon freebie. And that's all I've got for this one, ladies and gents. So as always, thank you very much for taking the time to check out this video. It is massively, massively appreciated. And until next time, have fun and happy snapping. See ya.